Jacques-Louis David's The Death of Marat, a transfixing portrait of one of the French Revolution's most notorious figures, and an enduring symbol of the power of art. David stages the crime, and he doesn't hide the gore. There's blood everywhere. The slumped figure lies in a literal bloodbath. The murder weapon, a bloody knife with an ivory handle, lays on the floor. But the painting does not evoke feelings of revulsion or horror in the way that it should. The mood is calm, almost ethereal. The victim is bathed in soft light and wears a peaceful expression. David is telling us that this is no ordinary death, that the figure lying in the bath is no ordinary man. The painting was made in 1793. The French King Louis XVI had just been sent to the guillotine. The terror and violence was reaching a fever pitch, and right at the center was a fiery journalist and politician named Jean-Paul Marat, possibly the most radical and cutthroat leader of the French Revolution. Marat zealously advocated for the mass execution of those he saw as enemies of the revolution. These enemies included not just nobles, priests, and royalists, but also rival revolutionary factions. Many held Marat and his Jacobin political party responsible for the September massacres, a bloody episode of the French Revolution where over 1,000 prisoners across France were summarily executed. Letters began circulating calling for the head of Marat, the man of blood. On the morning of July 13, 1793, a 24-year-old woman named Charlotte Corday answered the call. Corday, a member of the rival Girondin party, bought a 5-inch kitchen knife, a black hat with green ribbons, and headed to Marat's Paris residence on the Rue de Cordelier. After being initially rebuffed, she gained entry to Marat's apartment later that evening while bread and newspapers were being delivered, shouting in earshot of Marat that she had a list of traitorous Girondins. And despite his fiancée's misgivings, Marat gave Corday an audience. Corday recited the list of names to Marat as he sat in a bath using a makeshift writing desk. Marat's response to Corday's trumped-up list of traitors? In a few days, I will have them all guillotined. At this point, Corday was standing directly above Marat. She leaned down and plunged the knife hard into a large artery below Marat's right clavicle. Blood flowed out of the wound, and Marat died on the spot. Charlotte Corday wasn't a counter-revolutionary. She wasn't a royalist. She wasn't taking revenge for the execution of Louis XVI. She believed in the ideals of the revolution and saw Marat and his Jacobin political party as bloodthirsty and despotic. Corday said at her trial, "I have killed one man to save 100,000. Corday wanted to be a martyr of the revolution, but instead she would end up creating one by killing Marat. Jacques-Louis David was the leading French painter of his generation and a radical revolutionary himself. He had personal relationships with Jean-Paul Marat and Maximilien Robespierre, one of the most influential leaders of the French Revolution. David had played an active role in the Reign of Terror, the bloodiest episode in the French Revolution, issuing death warrants to the unfaithful. In fact, David had personally signed hundreds of death warrants, including the one for Louis XVI. So painting the death of Marat was no ordinary commission. Immortalizing the death of Jean-Paul Marat was an act of revolutionary devotion. Yet the inscription on the tombstone-shaped wooden desk, "To Marat, David," lets us know the painting was also personal. David's beautification and paint anoints Marat as a holy martyr of the revolution. Marat is given a peaceful, almost angelic expression. He's bathed in soft, heavenly light. His body is healthy and pristine, except for a clean stigmata-like wound. In reality, Marat suffered from a painful skin condition, and he took frequent medicinal baths for relief. By all accounts, Jean-Paul Marat was not the Christ-like specimen depicted in David's painting. He was a paranoid fanatic. His body was scaled and blistered, and he suffered from a range of deformities. Some of his problems may have even been picked up while hiding in the sewers of Paris in the early days of the revolution. In David's painting, Marat becomes both human and immortal, humble man of the people and messiah. Instead of focusing on violent assassination, David gives us a holy scene. There's clear evidence of a crime, but the mood is a kind of transcendent reverence and tranquility. David's symbolism wasn't just artistic fancy, it embodied the fanatical atmosphere surrounding the death of Marat. Marat's funeral was a highly staged spectacle, orchestrated by Jacques-Louis David. Marat's body was laid in a raised Roman bed, surrounded by flowers and tricolor drapes. Marat was given a crown of oak leaves and held an iron pen, symbolic of his tireless revolutionary work. Below the bed, a bloody robe and its writing desk restaged the crime and offered evidence of Marat's self-sacrifice. David had tasked the embalmers with transforming Marat's rotting, blistered corpse into something befitting a martyr. This included replacing Marat's dislocated right arm with one from another cadaver, whitening his skin, and hiding his growing stench with perfume. On the night of July 16, 1793, Marat's body and his separately embalmed heart were carried through the streets. Flowers were thrown in the face of Marat while music played and songs were sung. The theatrics surrounding the death of Marat could not be overstated. An altar was created for the urn to contain the heart of Marat. Before the altar, an orator proclaimed, "Their Jesus was but a false prophet, but Marat is a god. Long live the heart of Marat." Cities and streets were named after Marat. Montmartre became Montmarat. In the words of Simon Schama, Marat's blood would nourish the patrie, the fatherland. Marat would become a powerful tool of revolutionary propaganda for the radical Jacobin. David's memorialization of Marat was a radical departure from the sober, neoclassical works that established his reputation. His Oath of Horatii recounts a Roman legend of patriotic self-sacrifice, and was adopted by the French Revolution for its political idealism. Though groundbreaking in its own right, Oath of Horatii feels artificially staged compared to the naturalism and immediacy of the death of Marat. David gives us a snapshot of Marat's last moment. He's depicting an actual event, an actual person, instead of using classical figures as stand-ins. Yet cleverly, David is also making clear allusions to famous depictions of Christ, especially Caravaggio's The Entombment of Christ and Michelangelo's Pietà. David borrows the body of Christ from these Italian masters and presents Marat's immaculate corpse as an object of tragic beauty. This wasn't just a reference to art history, this was a resurrection, Marat reborn in the image of Christ. The painting was deemed the Pietà of the Revolution. David places more evidence of Marat's saintly character and dedication to the people in the center of the frame. Marat holds a fictional letter from Corday that reads, "It is enough that I'm unhappy to have a right to your kindness," suggesting Marat simply gave Corday an audience because she had a grievance, that Marat's flat was open to the good people of the revolution. And on the wooden desk lies a 5-livre assignat, paper money issued during the revolution. Underneath the money is a note from Marat instructing the 5 livres to be given to a widow with 5 children whose husband died fighting for his country. Marat is no longer the man of blood issuing death warrants from his bathtub. He's a man slain while trying to send money to a war widow. A subtle alteration of the facts, a deception with a political end. David has included only purposeful elements that tell a carefully crafted story. We are left with a deceptively simple composition that reveals Marat's humanity and divinity. David's appropriation of Christian symbolism was far more than just a convenient way to cast Marat as a martyr. David was helping to build a new kind of religion of revolutionary virtue. When David painted the death of Marat, the church was under attack. France was actively being de-Christianized. Priests were exiled, church property was seized, new atheistic religions were forming. The Cult of Reason, Robespierre's The Cult of the Supreme Being, which David helped sell to the public by organizing a huge festival in the summer of 1794. In fact, David's active support of Robespierre nearly got him killed. A month after the Supreme Being Festival, Robespierre was executed for his role in the revolution's bloodiest excesses. David, who had really become Robespierre's chief propagandist and a kind of art dictator, was imprisoned for a year. With the death of Robespierre and the fall of the Jacobins, Jean-Paul Marat's reputation quickly eroded. Streets named after Marat reverted to their original names. Busts of Marat were vandalized. Marat turned out to be a false prophet. David had immortalized a man of terror. The death of Marat would help instigate the worst violence of the revolution, known as the Reign of Terror. The revolutionary leader Bertrand Barrère would proclaim, "Let's make terror the order of the day." The death of Marat is one of the most enduring images in Western art. The transfigured image of Jean-Paul Marat lives on in infamy, a reminder of the treachery of images. The contemporary subject matter, the subtle manipulation of facts, the references to other works of art, all make this painting feel very modern. Some like to call the death of Marat the first modern work of art, though there are many contenders. The French Revolution was a profound moment in Western civilization, and David was in the middle of it all, filled with idealism and zeal. But after imprisonment, David tempered his passions and moderated his politics. But he would never quite live down his role in the revolution's worst horrors, and in particular, his immortalization of Marat, the man of blood.
Voilà plus de 1000 ans que les guerres sont écoulées, que nos vies ne sont plus que des soupirs. La rage au loin s'est catapultée, pour le meilleur car il n'y a de pire. Au fin fond de la terre océan, là où les sépultures demeurent.